This is my little boy. His birthday is this week on Friday. He's a black cat, and his birthday is going to be on Friday the 13th. He'll be 11 years old. I tried to do the Yvonne LaFleur hair thing.
Hey guys, welcome to a new vlog from me. We're gonna look at the weekly quote, I guess, to start us off. Kindred spirits are not so scarce as I used to think. It's splendid to find out there are so many of them in the world, by L.M. Montgomery. And isn't that true? Like, when you find somebody who you can just relate to so much, it's like, oh my gosh, where have they been this whole time? Now we're going to go through the weekly TBR. First we have the book I start my day with, which I should be finishing sometime this week, On the Line, Notes from a Factory by Joseph Pontus, translated by Stephanie Smee. This is a memoir told in poetry and verse from a man working in a factory in France. Next, a book I will be finishing today is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a love story, a historical fiction. I know, the space shuttle, it's historical. It is about some of the first astronauts being selected to go on the space shuttle missions, and it's a new release. It came out last week. Next we have my mood read, A Rising Man by Abir Muharjari, and this is about a man, Sam, who World War I has just finished. He is a Scotland Yard detective, and he basically wants to get away from his life in England, and he gets sent to Calcutta in India, an India that is fueled with a lot of unrest, a country who is wanting their freedom from the empire. Lastly, we have my ebook pick, which is Edge of Eternity by Ken Follett. This is book 3 of the Century Trilogy. This is starting in the early 1960s, and I think it's going all the way to the 1980s. It's following all the big historical events and how those big political historical events go down and impact everybody, impacts the normal person. And those are all of the books that I'm going to be starting my week with, because as I said, I should be finishing both of these this week, so we will have to see where I go from there. It is time to update y'all on Atmosphere. I read 70 pages. I only have like 20 pages left, but just did not have time to read that today. And I have to go to Myrtle Beach tomorrow, so extend this to another day, you know? That's awesome, right? So I don't have that many thoughts today. Yeah, only one that I would, or two, I didn't write down one, that I would like to share. So the first one is, a theme in my reading this month has been pretending, and when you're trying to find yourself pretending that you're somebody that you're not. So this has come up in both books this month, and I always feel like if something keeps coming up in something, it's the universe trying to tell you something, which we have a lot of that kind of talk in here. But I don't know, I don't really think I'm pretending in anything. I'm a pretty upfront and honest person who will show my emotions. But again, it keeps coming up in the literature I'm reading, so I'm like, am I hiding something? And I don't even know I'm hiding it. Maybe I am, but I really don't know what. So we're just gonna have to have some self-reflection. So do you guys ever have that when you're reading a book? Does a certain theme or just something keep coming up in the book, in the books that you're reading, and you're like, maybe I need to think about that. Maybe I need to reflect on that. Let me know in the comments, because I'm super interested to know. And this is the one that I didn't write down. Taylor Jenkins Reid, I always praise for how she can write unlikable characters, but you are entertained by what you're reading. But in this, that's not the case. There are two characters who I think we're not really supposed to like Lydia, because Lydia is like the know-it-all kid in the Polar Express. But the character, I think there has been some more development to that character to make her more why she is the way that she is. But we also have Barbara, who is Joan. Joan is the main character in this book. So Joan's sister is Barbara, and just the way this character is handled, it's like, yes, everything on paper, all that adds up for her to be the way that she is, but there's just like no redeeming qualities there. And I'm really disappointed in how Taylor Jenkins Reid is handling that character, because she's handled unlikable characters so well in the past, but with this, it's just no, it's just done poorly. I mean, maybe in these last 20 pages something will happen, but I really doubt anything substantial to make me change my opinion will happen. But fingers crossed, knock on wood, that something does. I'm just kind of shocked by that the way that character work with the character of Barbara has been handled. Yeah, I can't wait to do my review on this tomorrow for you guys, because I do have a lot of thoughts. I read the majority of this book over the weekend. I hoped to finish it over the weekend, but again, it just wasn't possible. I couldn't read that much over the weekend because I wanted to just start something new with y'all. But I have read every single one of her books on this channel with y'all, so I think it's fitting. But that is all for Atmosphere. Hey guys, happy Tuesday. So I haven't headed out yet. I'm gonna head out in about, I don't know, like 30 minutes to the beach. But I did finish a book. I finished On the Line. It's from a Factory by Joseph Pontes, translated by Stephanie Smee. I give this a 2-star because it is like a nonfiction, so I don't do decimals, but it didn't do a whole lot for me, and I don't see myself rereading it. But let's talk about the book. I think a lot of people will find relatability in this book. You don't have to work in a fish factory, you don't have to work in a slaughterhouse, but just being in that 9 to 5, that grind that we go through every week, and just how life can get repetitive. And in capitalism, we are cogs in a machine, another brick in the wall. And I started thinking, I'm like, isn't that how it is in like all like things, like economic things? I don't know, but that lifestyle of like, you have to work in modern society, you have to be doing something, or you have to be really rich and not do anything. So I do think a lot of people will find this relatable, and this book and nonfiction that I've read this year has really just opened my eyes to the humanization of little things. At the last section in the book, the author is talking about how there will be somebody eating fish or a hamburger or whatever in a restaurant, and not realizing all the people it has to go through before it reaches that plate. And that's just something that I've been realizing in my nonfiction in the last year with the library book with Chesapeake Requiem, of how humans are so resilient, and that's something with Atmosphere. There is resiliency of humans and how amazing that is, but just the mental capabilities of having to work in these kind of places where animals are being killed for the benefit of humans, for the benefit of other animals, because like they're eating meat. I do know some people's like dogs are vegan, aka Lewis Hamilton's dog is vegan. Yeah, interesting. But Fred is not vegan. I don't know if he's ever had vegetables in his life. He has, now that I think about it. But this book will really like make you want to go vegan. But what was my issue, other than like I don't see myself rereading it again or anything like that, is I think that, I don't know if it falls in the translation, but it was a bit clunky at times, and I was having to reread certain verses or sections several times over to get an understanding of what the author or translator was trying to say. But if any of this sounds intriguing to you, pick it up, but it's not one that I'm strongly recommending that you need to pick up right now. So the next next poetry collection I'm going to read is from a local publisher and local author. So this is Thresh Hold by Marlonda Dekine. This was winner of the 2021 New Southern Voices Poetry Prize. Oh, and the publisher is Hub City Press, who I got to visit them last year and loved it. They were amazing. They were so kind. Southern hospitality like at its finest, and just they had like such a diverse bookstore. I was there during whatever, it was July, but it might have been the end of June. But they had like a whole table for like disability books with disability representation, which I've never seen a bookstore do. So I don't know if they do that like every month for whatever, you know, that month is. But it's just such a diverse section, and I really enjoyed it. So this is a debut collection. It is a wholly radical unlearning and reclamation of self. What does it mean to be a Gullah Geechee descendant from a rural place where a third of the nation's funding wealth was harvested by trafficked West and Central Africans? DeKine's poems travel across age and time, reimagine intergenerational traumas, explore queerness and gender rooted in their home place, remembering and remaking in order to deeply connect to a spiritual house or a spiritual home to call I am listening to the spirit, I am not dying today. So I think this is a really important topic, because a lot of like the Gullah Geechee lands, these big like real estate development companies are, you know, encroaching on that. They're wanting to take those lands away from these people that they have been on for hundreds of years, and you've already taken so much away from these people by enslaving them, taking them from Africa, and now you're wanting to go in and build golf courses and really like, you know, you know, houses that are worth multi-millions of dollars. It's really messed up. And I saw that this one woman, I never know how to say this island, Dysfunky, no, that's definitely not. It's down near Charleston, and her family has lived there for 8 generations, and she is just, I saw it in the Charleston newspaper, the Post and Courier, how she's just trying to bring awareness to what is happening there. So yeah, do look into it. But we are going to be starting this tomorrow, and I think this is a really important issue in the coastal regions of the Carolinas and Georgia. So that's what I'll be starting tomorrow. Again, local author, local publisher, so really love to support that. I do not know, oh, here's my phone. So yeah, I'm leaving in about 15 minutes to 30 minutes, so I'm just gonna go take a picture of Instagram. I already wrote my review, and then I'm gonna get dressed and brush my hair and head out the door to Myrtle Beach. Hey guys, so I just got home. It's almost 6 o'clock, so that's when we'll get into atmosphere, but we did go to Goodwill in Little River. So the two like home decor, oh gosh, did I put him in here and can't get him out? Okay, I got him out. So I got this little like vase, I guess is what this would be, with these cows and geese on it. I thought it was so cute, and for like my grandma core bookcase, I think this will just be really paid for that. Like, oh my gosh, these cows are adorable. It doesn't say who this was made by or anything, so I'm gonna have to research that. And then somebody, they died or they donated their whole like pig Christmas collection. Like there were outdoor decoration like Christmas lights over pigs or multiple ornaments, and I honestly wish I could have bought them all, but you know, like we don't need to buy all that when I already have a ton of Christmas ornaments. But I did see one, and he was kind of separate from all the others, just this little pig here. I don't know why this reminds me of Delilah, like the look on his face and how he's standing. That's how Delilah looks to me. Look at his little pigtail. Oh my gosh, yes. So I just thought he was so adorable. $1.99, kind of expensive for this in my opinion, but he's so cute, and I couldn't pass it up on. Yeah, these were the same price, $1.99. Now let's look at the books. I got Hamlet by William Shakespeare, edited by A.R. Brunmuller. So I read Hamlet, I think my senior year in high school. Is that when you do British literature? So I read it back then, and I would like to read it since I have read Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, and just to reread it as an adult. So we picked up Hamlet. Then this book, I'm not sure if I've heard of or not. It sounded kind of familiar, and it's nice, like water damage, but not enough, you know, where like I can actually read it. But ew, what is that? So this is We Run the Tides by Vendela Vida. It's taking place in San Francisco in the 1980s. This is poignant and hilarious. Rerun the Tides is Vendela Vida's masterful portrait of an intimate or inimitable place on the brink of radical transformation, as well as gripping mystery and tribute to the wonders of youth and all its beauty and confusion. So I do love those themes. No, these two books, I did not realize they were by Fox News people. So I asked my dad, I was like, hey, do you want this for Father's Day? He doesn't watch Fox News either. We don't really watch the news, but when we do, it's not Fox. So I was like, do you want these? And he was like, okay, I'll take them. So there's a good chance it could end up in Little Free Library. So it's a good thing I only spent $1 on these books. But when I read like history books and all that, I would prefer not to have a political bias. And just the modern day and age, when you read books by like journalists who are with like those big networks, there might be some bias, and I personally just don't feel comfortable reading that. But if y'all feel comfortable reading that, that's fine. That's awesome for you. That's just not my personal preference for reading, and I'm not going to judge you if that's your preference for reading. The books are To Rescue the Republic, USS Grant, The Fragile Union, and the Crisis of 1876. So now it's like with somebody, and I'm like, did he even really write it? But that was the man who was the president. Was he after the Civil War? I know he was like a general in the Civil War. But we have that, and then this one that really shocks me that it was by a Fox News person is The President and the Freedom Fighter, Abraham Lincoln, Frederick Douglass, and their battle to save America's soul. Yeah, so I did not expect somebody from Fox News to write something like that, but these are 2 books, so they're going to be Father's Day gifts now. Might end up in Little Free Libraries or donated. I'm just going to give them to my dad. I mean, they're nice hardbacks and everything, but again, I don't like political bias in my reading. Which one of these books are going to be like, you don't like political bias? The next one is Please Please Tell Me Now, the Duran Duran story by Stephen Davis. I don't know much about Duran Duran. I like their music, but I don't know like how they became a band and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that would be kind of cool, and I mean, they look cool. Then we have a one that is, this was huge in like the mid 2000s. Let's see what year this was published in. 2005. And I was not allowed to watch the movie. That might be a story for another day when I read the book. It's Marley and Me by John Grogan. Life and Love with the World's Worst Dog. But yeah, I was not allowed to watch this movie as a kid, and like a lot of my friends have seen it. They'll talk about how sad it was, and I like books that can make me cry. I like books about animals. So is this nonfiction? Like, is it about his dog, or is this like, because there's pictures of, you know, like a real dog. But I picked that up, and yeah, also something kind of gross on that. But this Goodwill was so spacious. Like, I probably should have got a cart because there was so much room that I would have room to get a cart and not be in people's way. But then this book, The Soviet Union Since Stalin, edited by Stephen F. Cohen. Oh my gosh, please don't be the... Okay. I have to make sure it wasn't the one Trump related. And then Alexander Rabinowitz and Robert Charlotte. So Charlotte, yeah, I guess that would be how you say that. Yeah, I am currently fascinated by this for my own like writings, and then y'all know I've been researching reading the Ken Follett book, which would be taking place around the same time. So that was my Goodwill haul. It is currently 5:52, so in 8 minutes I'm going to get an atmosphere, so you're probably going to hear from me very soon, because I think I only have like 20 pages left of that book, and I really don't know what I'm going to rate it. I just finished Atmosphere. Oh my gosh, that last bit was very emotional. My note for today was, okay, emotional at the romance being on the line, but for everybody else, I had no emotion for. That's something that I think this book should have started differently. Obviously, it starts with our characters up in space, and it's not going as planned. And that's right how the story kicks off. I personally wouldn't have said maybe the character names. I would have been like Astronaut 1, Astronaut 2, Astronaut 3, because at that point those names mean nothing to us. We're just getting into the book. We don't know who all those people are. So I was like, okay. And then, but once the story gets rolling, we are, you know, introduced to all of these characters. And yes, we do know that, okay, this is going to happen to them, this is going to happen to them, this is going to happen to them. But it did, so when I was reading that first page, I didn't have that punch of, characters, terrible things happening to these people and not knowing what's going to happen to these people. So I think it would have just been better having that guessing all along of, is it going to be this person, this person, this person? But I mean, this isn't a thriller, is it? So I didn't feel any emotion when this bad stuff was happening to other characters, but when our romance was on the line, I was like, I want to cry, it's emotional. But let's go into doing call pow and finding out what we are going to rate atmosphere. So characters, I am going to give a 4. We talked a lot about this, or talked some about it yesterday. I really do like the character of Joan. I find her incredibly relatable. She was having thoughts that I was like, other people think this? And just some thoughts I've had about her love is for science, and how science is what is the meaning of life and what makes life, and showing that everything is connected. But I personally find that in history I love history so much because it shows that everything that ever exists is connected, which science does the same thing. It shows how all this is connected and how it makes our world work, and even has discussions on it. The characters believe in God or whatnot, and there's just some great discussion on that, because again, it's seeing my views written perfectly. I've seen how all of this different characters have different views, and I'll be like, oh, that character believes that, I don't want to read that. But I have to believe something created all of this, someone created all of this, because just how everything flows together and works together, there has to be a mastermind behind that. That's my personal opinion. So again, why am I not giving the characters a 5 then? I did not like how the characters were not supposed to were handled. I think characters like Lydia, I think characters like Barbara, there was no redeeming qualities. They weren't even entertaining to read from. It was annoying. And at times Joan did annoy me a little bit. She's borderline a Mary Sue, so I'm gonna have to give the characters a 4. Atmosphere is what comes next, and I was thinking of this when, reading those last 20 pages, that I don't know what I'm going to rate the atmosphere. I'm thinking a 4 because it does read very 80s. This story, 70s and 80s are the decades that we're seeing here, because I think Taylor Jenkins Reid is kind of known at this point for having those historical settings with her last 4 books. Yeah, so I think we're going to do a 4 for the atmosphere, because again, it reads very much like when it is taking place, and having read about NASA and Houston, it does really read like that. So the writing again is a 4. Taylor Jenkins Reid is not my favorite writing style, but I do think she is a good writer. I did have problems at times of not knowing who was talking. There was some lack of clarity with that, but the pacing and everything I think was fantastic. This is very just a building up, and I love when a book can do that, and you don't really see that outside the thriller genre. I mean, I'm not gonna say you never see it, but it's rare to see it. And I don't know, this is romance historical. I never even listed this on my Goodreads because I bought it and started reading it the next day. So I do think the build up and everything was done very well. Plot. Oh my gosh, is everything really going to be a 4? Because the plot is going to be a 4 as well. I do think that this is such a unique idea, and I think that the research that went into this book is incredible. At the start of the year, I read Challenger by Adam Higginbotham, which was about the Challenger disaster. It's called Disaster on the Edge of Space, Heroism on the Edge of Space. I don't remember. It's right over there. I can't see. I just see Challenger. I don't see the subtitle on Fred. Looks very comfy back there. But that book, I would really recommend reading those two close together. You can read it in either order, but you can definitely see the amount of research that Taylor Jenkins Reid put into this book. And she does have a bibliography at the back. or further reading on the back. I would put the Adam Higginbotham book on here as well, but this, they came out too close together. So that's why I doubt that she would have read that book for research for this. But yes, incredible amounts of research, even some points where I'm just like, what would all these abbreviations mean? But I mean, that didn't hinder my reading experience or anything. This is a love story. the romance is a very slow burn romance, forbidden love romance, because this is the time period that's taken place in, and you know, I guess workplace romance as well. Being at NASA, workplace romance about astronauts. Yeah, so I do think it was a very well done story, but again, it kind of goes back to how with the characters I would have done some things a little bit differently, and I just wish I would have felt a more emotional connection to those other plot lines rather than just the romance. But intrigue does get a 5. I'm gonna do the pink pen. Intrigue, especially towards the end, because I was like, again, those last like 10 pages, I'm like, I have no idea what is going to happen. Those last 10 pages, emotional roller coaster. I was like, what is Taylor Jenkins Reid going to do here? What is she going to do with these characters? Where is this going to go? Really just kept you guessing, and I think that was incredible. Logic, also going to do a 5, because that's when I talked about the research. I should have saved it for when I was talking about that. And enjoyment, it was honestly going to be a lot of 3-star, but I would say more like a 3.5, so I guess we will round that up to a 4. And where's my phone so we can do some math over here, finding out what we are going to rate this book. So we have 4 4s, so is that 12? No. 16, right? 4 times 4, yeah, 16. Plus 10 plus 4 is 30 divided by 7. So we're getting a 4.28. That's an incredible book. That's a great book, guys. And I would definitely recommend it. Oh, and something else that I would like to say. I think this is because she's, you know, stepping away from, I think the Famous Woman Quartet's really what made her famous. Not knocking her other contemporary romance books, because some of those I didn't like, some of those I really enjoyed. But this is a great, like, middle stone. That's not the word. I can't think of it. Like, it's a great median for her contemporary romance and her historical Famous Women quartet, because we are in a historical setting. We are having romance, and it's just the perfect middle place. I think that's the word I was looking for. A perfect middle place of combining those two genres that she has worked with and has written with. But I don't think it's as good as her Famous Women books, but it is still a great book, and I would definitely recommend that you guys pick it up. And there's a lot of different special editions. You know, mine just has the playlist, and then it has these in pages, and we do get kind of explanation for the color. I love that when the color of the physical book has something to do with the story. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I like to think that it was. So I did love this, and I would recommend it. I totally forgot to tell y'all like what we would be starting next. I briefly talked about it in last week's vlog, but I'm going to be reading Blankets by Craig Thompson next, and I will read the description of this tomorrow, so that will be our next main focus book in the vlog. But I did get to over the halfway point in A Rising Man, so I do want to give some new thoughts. This is very, as I told y'all, it is very descriptive, which I think is perfect for the atmosphere, but it's a pretty slow moving thriller, mystery, whatever you want to call it. Mystery, I guess, would be the more suited. That's the one genre where I'm like, there's so many different sub-things, because I used to have all my thrillers in one category, but then as like horrors are kind of separate, mysteries are kind of separate, so I think it's more of a mystery. Yeah, it says mystery right there, but I don't know what the typical thing is for that, but it is very slow paced. You are getting, there's no time jumps. You are literally going day by day by day with our character of Sam Wyndham. Yeah, so you're getting just all the little gritty details of things. So it is a slow moving story. I've been reading it for a little over a week. It took me like a week to get to the halfway point. More like 8 days to take me to get me to the halfway point. But who do I recommend this book to? I meant to tell y'all last week. So if Rick was your favorite character on The White Lotus season 3, which he was one of my favorite characters, I think you will like this. Just think of a man who's on a mission but has kind of a troubled past behind him, who has layers to him, and it's all kind of mysterious. that's why I would recommend, if he's your favorite character, check this book out. And then we are in a South Asian, studying Southeast Asia, South Asian. I can't remember what the word for that is, but we are in Asia in this book. Next would be if you like the show Narcos on Netflix, because again, we're going on a mission, and what we're reading today, we're going after like this terrorist organization. It really reminded me of on Narcos when they're going after Pablo Escobar, when they almost have him and when they get him. That is what I'm going to say. It is slightly different in everything, but I'm not going to get into those nitty-gritty details because I don't want to spoil things, but it did remind me of that. And it's just kind of like a noir kind of book. And oh, my other one would be 1917, just for the historical context of being in the British Empire. Did I say 1919? I meant 1917. This is in 1919, but that time period of being in the British Empire, and again, on a mission, have some past things that you don't really talk about. That's all reminiscent there. So that is my update for today. I'm about 25% into Edge of Eternity. I don't really do updates on those books that I do on my Kindle because I'm usually a ways into a series, like that's a third book in the series, but the Americans, have found out that there are Russian missiles in Cuba, and I never really, I knew that would happen, like when my grandma, she was a teacher at this point, and they would have to get under their desk because, Cuba is only like two states and like 90 miles away. So I don't know a trajectory of a Soviet missile, but they would have to get under their desk having missile drills. And she remembers, that Cuba had missiles, but I asked her if because I don't know if this scene really happened. I told her, I prefaced all that, of the characters, when they all find that out, everybody's like, oh my gosh, we're going to nuclear war. Oh my gosh, like, we're all gonna die. But she didn't really remember that. But it's kind of crazy that everybody is so scared. They're like, oh my gosh, they have nuclear warheads. They're only 90 miles from the United States. This is crazy. So I've never really thought about that. So that's been interesting. We haven't had our German characters in a while, our East German characters. I've really liked those. We've had our Americans, George has been the main point of view for that. And we've had our Russians, which obviously with the plot line I told you about with Cuban missiles, that makes sense that those would be the two plot lines that we're having. We haven't had a British, I can't do a Welsh accent, and we haven't had our, the witch. Don't know what kind of accent I was getting at there, but that is all. I don't think I'm gonna get to 100 pages read today. I'm definitely gonna have to read some of my Greek mythology. Don't know which hero we're gonna be reading about today, but that is all for. Hey guys, happy Wednesday. I'm still getting used to filming over here. I don't want to hit that, but let's like really far back. I went to B&B for lunch today, and then I'm going to Target in a little bit, and I'm going to be getting my tetanus shot. Like, I haven't stepped on a nail or anything, knock on wood, it doesn't happen before then, but you have to get one like every 10 years, and Fred, you don't need to show your butt on the camera. Have to have his tail down. So I am going to get that booster shot, I guess is what it would be called, I don't know, but if there's not a lot of people, I will get it, because I got a notification from CVS being like, you're due for that vaccine, and I was like, okay, so there's not a lot of people there, I'll get it, but if there's a lot of people, I'll just wait for another day to come, like, I'll just try every week. But yeah, it's raining and thunderstorming, so I don't know if that's going to mean a lot of people are going to be in Target, or not a lot of people are going to be in Target, because CVS is in Target. But I want to talk about the book that we are going to be starting today. That is Blankets by Craig Thompson. So if you watched last week's vlog, I talked about what it was about. And if you watched the TBR video, you know what it's about. But in case you haven't watched either, I'm going to tell you. So this is a graphic novel that's over 500 pages. And here's the description. So wrapped in the snowfall of a blustery Midwestern winter, Craig Thompson's graphic novel memoir, so I didn't realize it was a memoir, interweaves a coming-of-age high school romance with the tale of two brothers growing up in rural isolation. The young author wrestles with bullies, unravels his faith, searches for security, and finds his creative voice in a singular and utterly beautiful work. This was $30. I don't think I got it that much. I think I got it on sale, but yeah, so coming of age memoir. I did not realize it was a memoir. Oh, there he is in the back. So yeah, he was born in Traverse City, Michigan in 1975 and raised in rural Wisconsin, and he lives in Los Angeles, California now. So that is what I'm going to be starting at 2. I don't know what time it currently is. It's 2:43, or I'm going to be starting at 3. It's currently 2:43. So I'm just going to scroll on my phone, you know, and oh yeah, I'm trying this updo. I was trying to do the Yvonne LaFleur look, but I don't have those like clips that go into hair. So we are kind of poofy, and it is, I don't know what the temperature is, but you know, it's humid here, so my hair just goes poofs out. But updo, because I don't know how to do updos. I don't get how people get the hair to stay on the top of the head. So I think I did a pretty alright job with this. It did look better when my hair was wet when I did it last night to try, and then I did it this morning before going out for lunch, and this is where we're at now, however many hours later. So we're trying an updo because I only just have my hair down, and I either crimp it, curl it, straighten it, wave it. We do all those kind of different things. So I didn't use heat on it today, but since it was going to be up, and you know, so that's the new hairstyle that I am trying. Well, yeah, see how crazy that looks. Okay, I got back from Target, and I was the only one at the pharmacy there, so I did get my vaccine. Look at the band-aid, it's so cute. It kind of matches my outfit, the red and white. So it does kind of hurt if I move it like a certain way, but she said with this vaccine, which I have only heard that your tetanus is like really sore, she said that it can just be red and irritated, swollen. That can happen, or that's what usually happens for her patients, I guess would be the right word. But yes, so I did look, and you can take Tylenol. I meant to ask when I was there, but you know, wasn't really thinking. But yeah, getting the shot, it didn't hurt, and it was just super quick. Yeah, so the last shot I got was the flu shot, but the COVID shots, in my opinion, are the most painful shots I've ever got, and I don't plan on getting any more, knock on wood. But yes, so I do want to share what I got at Target. So I saw this in the dollar spot, Bullseye's Playground, whatever you want to call it, because this was $5, because it is 10. This is a lunchbox, is what it says, but yeah, food safe, white clean, damp cloth. I'm gonna put my makeup in it. I just thought this was so cute because y'all know it kind of matches with atmosphere, but just that celestial vibe with the mountains and trees. I thought it was cute, so I'm gonna put my makeup in that. Speaking of makeup, I was able to get my beauty blenders this week, so they have like 3 different sizes. I don't know what you use each one for on application on all areas of the face, so I don't know which is used for what, but I am sure that I will find out, and I'm sure it will work for like any section of your face. But yeah, everybody in Target was so friendly today. Like if I was in somebody's way or just saying excuse me, like when last week people were like not considerate at all, people were very nice this week. But I did pick up a book. I did get kind of wet because, you know, we've been having thunderstorms and the cart was wet, but it is dry and there's no damage. So I got The Hidden Life of Cecily Larson, love that name, by Ellen Barker, and it comes with the red sprayed edges. This is a book that I discovered at Target a few weeks ago, and I do see Lisa Wingate left a blurb, who she's one of my favorite books, and then Christian Harmo, I've given her like a 3-star. But we have one plot line in 1924. So 4-year-old Cecily Larson's mother reluctantly drops her off at an orphanage in Chicago, promising to be back. And I think she ends up in the circus somehow. Then we have 2015. Cecily is now 94, living a quiet life in Minnesota. And then she does a DNA test and unexpected things happen. Luckily, that didn't happen when I did a DNA test. There were some ethnicities, yeah, I guess ethnicity would be the right word, that I didn't know I had, but you know, I didn't have any really wild surprises when I did a DNA test. But I do love this cover and the sprayed edges, just love this, how it looks. Again, kind of celestial with the stars, so that book is kind of different from what I typically read. Maybe it did get kind of water damage right there, but I'm not mad about it. I'm gonna sneeze, so that is all. I am here to go over my notes for blankets. I got to 55%, so definitely on track to finish this book tomorrow. I don't have any outside plans for tomorrow except, going to get lunch. That's all. So I do think it's very likely I will finish this book tomorrow. I read 323 pages. So if you're somebody who has like that page count goal, which is something I just started doing this year, I'm not really holding too tightly to that. But if you are somebody who wants to read as many pages as possible, I highly recommend graphic novels for that, because you can just read, like, I read 323 pages in like 2 hours. It's a very good way to get to that page count, even if that's something that's not why I read graphic novels. I just want to read graphic novels. I think they're fun, and it's like taking in any other form of media for me. But I do think that's a great way to get to those page number goals if you have them. I think my goal is like 50,000, something like that, or 40 something thousand. I'm not exactly remembering correctly. But I do want to go over my notes from what I read so far today. So the first thing I noticed right off the bat is that the art style was very childish, very cartoonish. Think Diary of a Wimpy Kid, that kind of thing. And I was wondering if it would change as our character got older, because we start with him as a 3rd grader and now he's somewhere in high school. I don't know exactly how old he is. And that's definitely the case where the style of art does seem to develop and become more intricate as the story has progressed, as our character has gotten older. And I do think children just see the world so differently than an adult sees the world. And I like how that can be portrayed in art. And now I do want to make notes for trigger warnings, because sometimes when I'm going and doing my review on Fable, you can mark the different trigger warnings that are there, and sometimes I don't remember everything. So in the first section, they did use some racial slurs, so do be aware of that. And then religious intolerance. Like the guy was getting bullied, Craig was being bullied because his mom is super religious, and then they were calling his dad a slur. So do be aware of that. And as I said, bullying, and we will get into more of the trigger warnings. So basically, I didn't expect this to be as religious as it was. I don't remember if when I read y'all the description of the book of it mentioned that, but it is religious, and just seeing how using that religion and then describing his own life, and it seems like as a kid his life was hell, comparable to hell. And the teen years that we see in really like the second section of the book, very 90s. Like if you've watched movies that were filmed in the 90s, came out in the 90s, it just screams 90s, and therefore that time period. And then just looking back at youth, this has been making me feel nostalgic for my teenage years. As I was talking about with the Christian upbringing, that leads us into our next point. That is what my high school years were like. I was in a really like evangelical community. So seeing some of these conversations that the characters are having and everything, I'm like, oh my gosh, when I was a teen, we were having those same conversations. And it's just bringing that kind of nostalgia. And something I found interesting is, even though you are Christian, obviously there are all kinds of denominations, but there are still going to be those cliques. Now, I think the word clique, the movie that does that best is Dazed and Confused, because really everybody does interact with one another. Or like a jock might interact with the nerds, like one jock, one nerd might interact with each other, that kind of thing. And just seeing on these different kinds of Christians, so you have like the jocks, the popular kids, but then you have the nerds who are also like very religious and will tell you are going to hell because of one thing or another. And then you have the ones who are just like Craig, who was like me, just trying to survive, trying to get through all of this. And it flows very well, just seeing how this story has progressed and everything. Now, I did have some questions of, okay, when did this change and all of that, but not enough to hinder the reading experience. Now, another trigger that I would say is the use of the R word. I did get it when the character was being bullied. They were saying his brother was that. And then we, progress the story to when he's a teenager, and his romantic interest has 2 siblings who have Down syndrome, and they were using another slur that I had never heard for somebody with Down syndrome, and then they were saying the R word. Like, even just he was referring to that in his mind. Now, this was published in 2003, but I remember as a kid being told, like, you don't say the R word. So like same time period. And yeah, so just to even describe people when he's not bullying them using that word, just to let y'all know that's here. I only struggle with the trigger warnings. I don't know the difference in bigotry, misogyny, and there's another word that I'm always like, I don't know which one it is. So do y'all know which one, if you are using slurs for somebody who has a disability, what would that go under? Let me know. It's going to be too late, but you know, for future reference. But there was a page 248, I took a picture of it, that I did love and never knew this was a thing. And I mean, it might not be, it might just be teenagers talking, but they're laying out in snow at a mountain, very romantic. So it began to snow. Listen, that soft tinkling sound, that like tiny crispy shards of glass shattering on the snow. You know what it is? What? That sound. It's the static being discharged by each snowflake because the air is so dry. Like I don't live in a cold climate. I live where it's very hot and humid, but we did have snow this year. I never knew that was a thing, that like snow makes noise, like snowflakes make noise. I thought that was interesting. So those are my notes from Blankets. I hope I haven't been saying blanket. It's Blankets by Greg Thompson for the day, the first 55% of the book, the first 323 pages. Guys, happy Thursday, last day of the vlog. So it is time for me to open the mail. So if some packages got here like at the tail end of last week, like last weekend, they do not show up in this. This is only the stuff that I get at like the start of the week and everything. So I do want to show, I did get my dad's last father, that sounds like morbid, but I got the last of his Father's Day gifts as well, but I'm not going to show that. I don't think he watches my vlogs, but still don't want to risk him overhearing me saying what he got or anything like that. But maybe I will do a little like TikTok or something showing what I got my dad for Father's Day, because it did not go crazy. He doesn't like those kind of holidays anyway. Yeah, he does not like being the center of attention. But the first things I had to show you also, before my mom passed, she had a, Ipsy subscription, which I had heard of. My dad's like, I don't know how to put a stop to that, so I guess he'll just wait till the credit card runs out. I don't know, but so I'm getting them there at the UPS box. So first thing we have here is Cockadoo Plumpers, Plump Hydrate Nourish. So is this for your lips? That would seem kind of weird for it to be in this. Oh, it's a mask. Harness the power of the Australian native plum extracts. This luxurious mask is a triple threat of antitoxinants and phytonutrients, helping to brighten and protect the delicate skin around your eyes. So it must be under eye stuff. So we got that, and it is not tested on animals, because that's my thing with makeup. I don't like to use products that were tested on animals. And then with like this is random stuff that I don't know what this is, so I get really hesitant. So this is the little bag, which I have been needing makeup bags. So this is my second one of the Ipsy packages, and just I think it'll be easier to travel with. So we have our, so the Ipsy Glam Bag, express your unique beauty, make bold moves, bring on the bright hues and dopamine boosting glam. This month is all about chasing joy and expressing it through every look. So I'm not gonna open this up because this might be the spoiler card, and I don't want to get spoiled for what's in here. So first we have this liquid foundation, beige 5. So I don't know, do you think when you get this subscription you fill out telling them your color tone and all that? This looks dark for my skin personally, but we have a liquid foundation. I've never seen foundation in one of these little tubes. This is Ultra Repair Body Lotion, lightweight daily hydration, skin protectant, Kaladao oatmeal, safe for sensitive skin. And another thing, if you fill out age, because obviously a 50-year-old's gonna have different skin than a 25-year-old. So this is some Glow Tonic cleansing cloth. So I have used Pixie before. So cleansing cloth. So these are exfoliating cleansing cloths. So we have that. This is this eyeliner. I'm not seeing what this is. I'm just seeing it was made in Miami, or made in China, distributed in Miami. Okay, this is an eyebrow pencil, ultra fine micro tip taupe. But if that's the color, that black, that's way too dark for me. So that was what was in there. I don't really know much about Ipsy, so this is my second one. ever. I've seen it in other people's videos. That's how I like know what it is and knew what it was when I opened the package. So we got that. Then from stuff I've bought myself, this is the omega-3, which is fish oil that I take every day. Haven't taken it in a few days because, you know, I had to get the package, but now I have the subscription set up because I never set up the subscription right off the bat. I'm always like, I'm gonna try it first. I need to try it first, but and if it's something that works and is good, I will order it again, so, or start the subscription after that. So this is vegan omega-3 liquid drops in the orange flavor. And then I did order from Revolve again, and they offered I could get a free little add-on. So this is jet lag mask. There was a plane crash this morning, but okay, it's Summer Fridays, which I do know my cousins like Summer Fridays, but this is, it just says, on cleansed dry skin, apply a thin even layer with fingertips, maybe used under and over the eye area. Leave for 10 minutes for maximum hydration. Blot with cloth or tissue if necessary. No need to rinse. So I got that. They offered an add-on, so I took it. And then I got this two-piece set, which I did not realize it was this dark of a color. Like, it did not look this dark online. So, you know, stay tuned to my TikTok if you guys would like to see what these look like online. And then I got, and so yeah, this is like a tank top vest kind of deal, and then some shorts. And then these are a pair of shorts that I got. This is by Damson Matter, when these are by Steve Madden. So those are the pieces of clothes that I got, and then like makeup, self-care stuff that I got. I'm going to read in a minute. I'm just gonna go put all of this away. The clothes I'm not gonna put away yet because I am gonna try those on for a TikTok. Not gonna do that right now, gonna do that later, but all the other stuff I am going to put away. I am a third of the way into Thresh Hold. That is 34% that I got to today, and yes, I am loving this. I think that it just speaks like for that land, for that culture. I mean, obviously I'm not Gullah Geechee, so I can't say 100%, but I think that it just represents that area, that history, those people so well. This takes place, or the author is from Georgetown County, which is, I don't know, that's one or two counties away, but we have been there in the vlogs. And I think it perfects that so well, and the dialogue and everything is, I don't know about dialogue, but the way that it's written all just reads so much like that culture and that place. So I do think this is great if you want to read some Gullah Geechee literature, or to read by a South Carolina author. And I saw that they are a non-binary person, so, you know, for Pride Month we have been doing quite well with that. We've read a book by a bi author, that be an Atmosphere, and then the characters in there be an LGBT. Now we have a non-binary author, so we will just have to see where all of this goes. We love to be reading all that representation. It's fantastic to read all year, not just during Pride Month, because it's not really intentional when I pick these books that they're going to fit that certain month or whatever. So it is always fun when, you know, it does fit, when everything does work out like that. So that is my update on Thresh Hold. I got to page 23, by the way. It's 66 pages of poetry. Hey guys, I just finished Blankets. I think I'm gonna give it a 3.25 because it was good. I just don't see myself rereading it. But this is like, this character work is, it's a memoir, but so relatable. If you grew up in like an evangelical setting, you're gonna find a lot of nostalgia in this for those days of old, and then for your teenage years, because this really shows off the trials that you go through when you're coming of age, from a child into a teenager to becoming a young adult. All the trials and everything that one goes through, it really shows that. The art style, I really liked how it progressed and how it changed throughout the story depending on the age of the character and what the character was going through, what they were thinking. And something where I would think there would be a loophole, I'm like, oh, I wonder what happened with this, just be patient. That's something with this book. You gotta be patient because he is going to answer your questions, wrap them all up. Don't worry about the loopholes because that was something that I was very scared of. So would I recommend this for the yes, no, or maybe? I'm gonna say a maybe if anything about this book intrigues you, but especially if you like a coming of age story, which when I was a young adult, like when I was in my late teens, that was like my favorite genre, my favorite trope. I loved coming of age stories. So I think if I read it back then, this could have been a 5-star maybe. But definitely if you like coming of age, I would recommend that you pick this up. So let's wrap up the vlog here. I did not read over 100 pages every day this week because on Tuesday when I had to go to Myrtle Beach, I only read 71 pages, but the past 2 days I've read over 300 pages because I was reading this big tome of a graphic novel, and we had that discussion of if you have a page number challenge, try a graphic novel because they can be very helpful with that. I did haul one book this week, that being The Hidden Life of Cecily Larson. That book was $15.19. So what am I going to be reading next? Next, I'm going to be wrapping up a trilogy with The Road to Rome by Ben Kane, a novel with the Forgotten Legion. So in the 1st century BC, the surviving members of a once powerful Roman army are defeated and captured at the farthest end of the known world. These men are the Forgotten Legion. We do have some other characters like Fabiola, who is in fear for her life. She was loved by Brutus but wooed by Marcus Antonius, his deadly enemy. From the battlefields of Asia Minor and North Africa to the lawless streets of Rome and the gladiator arena, they all face death and danger daily until 44 BC, when their individual roads all lead them to Rome, where the future of the Republic lies unexpectedly in their hands. So that's what I'm going to be starting next, wrapping up that series, which I have really enjoyed, and I think I'm going to enjoy this even more since I've seen Rome on HBO and had a Roman spring, if you will, and that may start back. We may have a Roman summer next month. Who knows? I'm seeing if there's any kind of theme for next week, and no, there's not. It's just a random vlog. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you made it all the way through, leave a fruit emoji in the comments below, and as always, comment, rate, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.